Hello, don't be put off, this is not a long video just filming out of an aircraft window. For your info, we depart in Bristol in a Jet 2 737-800 to Palma, Mallorca, and this was filmed in 2022. And this is a moment to give some background about these videos. So welcome to Airfields in Mallorca, a Tales from the Hangar Guide Part 1. I thought we'd do something a bit different this time, and I wanted to cover Sunbonnet, and that's Mallorca's original gateway airport for the Sunseekers, and also the Palena seaplane base. I've stayed many times in Porto Cristo. When I visit the island, I always hire a car and go off exploring. My wife likes to just stay on the beach and just chill out, and I normally join in the afternoons after exploring, and then we both end up watching the water bombers doing their stuff. In recent years, with Google Maps on my phone, it's made it easier finding places, of course including the airfields. So through the years I've taken a lot of photos, and because of this I thought, why not cover all the other airfields on the island at the same time. The result was compiling this basic guide for aviation geeks, or more British term, aviation anoraks, who like exploring aviation when abroad. Mallorca is very active with aviation, and no matter where you are on the island you just need to look up. There's always something going in and out of Palma, along with light and military aircraft simply flying over. Two of the airfields here I've only found out about recently when researching this. Even on the internet there's not a lot about these very smaller airfields, so some of the sections are short. I've not covered some of the paragliding, ballooning sites or helicopter sites, as they can move or pop up anywhere. Okay, let's continue the flight. Palma Airport, I literally just touched on it briefly. So much is known about it, and loads about it online. Anyway, please keep your seatbelts fastened until the aircraft comes to complete stop and the seatbelt sign is turned off, which most of you will probably ignore anyway. So the first airfield is Bism, and it's just southeast of the town off the MA13 main road. It's the smartest looking of the smaller airfields on the island, with good signage. Like most of the airfields, more activity is seen at weekends, and has a lot of hangars and a club room. I found it all very friendly, and on one visit was shown around one of the small hangars. The runway is about 400 metres long, and like a majority of the small airfields on the island, they have a gravel dirt surface with some very determined grass trying to grow through. Anyway, it's well worth a visit. Cap de Pira is just south of the MA15 east of the town. It has a short 200 metre grass strip that's most used for paramotors. I've never been to this airfield, and I've only just recently discovered there was one there. And also there's hardly any photos or info about it. Palma. As mentioned before, no point in covering this in depth as lots of stuff has been published about it. I will however share a couple of clips. The first one I filmed at the end of runway 24 left. There's a good spot you can park off the roundabout on the MA 5013, and the second one is a fantastic bit of Super 8 film. Palena Seaplane Base. The base in reality is in Porto Cristo. It is all well signposted as you come into the town. Walking as far north as you can on the seafront, you'll get a good view of the base, and you could probably get a better shot with a decent camera rather than this phone shot. And on the beach you can get a great air show. It can be dead some days, and other days they're practicing non-stop. Great when you see them ducking and diving around the hills, and if the wind is in a certain way they skim over the seafront buildings and put it down as soon as possible. In the spring of 1928 the name of Palena appeared in the press around the world, on the occasion of the bay having provided hospitality to 61 seaplanes. Yes, that's 61. The Italian military aviators were received and attended to by their Spanish colleagues in the Bay of Palena. And amazingly there is some film footage of this, and here is a 1.5-minute clip of it. From November the 23rd, 1935, 3 Dornier WOW from Group 6 were stationed at Palena. They also had the equipment to support the operation that included 1 truck, 1 car and 4 boats. One of the boats would service the aircraft, 1 for rescue and 2 tank boats for loading fuel. The men were housed in rented property in Porto Cristo. This is until barracks, building and apron ramp were built, and in the short term they had a temporary wooden ramp for the aircraft. When the Spanish Civil War started in 1936, various Italian aircraft used the base during the war. On February 20th, 1937, the building works began, and in a few weeks a platform of 1,250 square metres was built. In April 1939, with the end of the Spanish Civil War, equipment included 3 Arado AR-95AOs and 3 Hangar HE-115s, plus a Hangar HE-60. These would be the last new aircraft the Spanish would receive until the spring of 1943. When the repatriation of the German volunteers of the Condor Legion took place in May 1939, the Hangar 59 and Arado 95 aircraft were transferred to Spain, with the Palena base taking charge of them. The Hangar 115, on the other hand, returned to Germany. With the war, Spain was forced to maintain its waters and coast to prevent others from taking advantage of them. Their equipment at this point was 2 Cant Z506Bs, 2 Hangar 60s and 3 Arado AR-95s. All the equipment was in generally a very poor state as a result of the ongoing wars. They eventually managed to purchase 12 Dornier DO-24T3s. In April 1944, 3 crews from the Palena base were sent to Marseille for training. Between the first days of May and the last days of August, the 12 Dorniers arrived in Palena. Spares then became an issue. At that point they only had 2 aircraft in service, and that was 2 Hangar 60s, both in a very poor condition. The air staff then decided to acquire 6 Romeo RO-43 seaplanes, which had been interned in Mallorca for a year. They struggled a lot with these aircraft, and they were severely damaged by the ongoing wars and in a poor state, so they were decommissioned in October. However, there was some good news. After the war in 1949, the building of the base was finally finished. 5 Hangar 114As were brought in to replace the RO-43 seaplanes. The lack of spares and shortage of parts for all the aircraft became a big problem, so there was massive restriction on all flights and operations were kept to the minimum. As a consequence of the Treaty of Friendship and Mutual Aid signed by Spain and the United States of America, 5 pilots and 8 specialists from the 51st Group were designated to take part in a rescue and adaptation course to the Grumman SA-16A. They returned from the USA with 2 Grummans to Palena on May the 30th, 1954. The arrival of these modern aircraft to Palena began a new era in the history of the base. They were received with great enthusiasm. The 51st Squadron was formed and made up of 2 Dornier 24s and 3 Hangar 114s. With the Grummans, the 50th Rescue Squadron was formed in August, and given the degree of wear and tear and corrosion on the Hangar 114s, they were finally withdrawn from service. The Grumman aircraft was successful and provided good search and rescue operations. In the spring of 1959, the Bay of Palena began to be used for a weekly Tuesdays and Fridays technical stopover, along with Lisbon, for the Southampton Las Palmas to Gran Canaria route by Aquila Airways, using the short Solent. Another airline used the base, but for different reasons, and that was Iberia. They used the base to carry out search and rescue and survival practices. When the base Albatross aircraft were out supporting the 1957-58 IF&I Sahara War, 58 Squadron were created, operating the 4 very old Dornier 24s. And amazingly, this aircraft remained in service until November the 20th, 1969, when they were finally decommissioned. And during the following years, all the aircraft were finally replaced by the Canadair CL-215, and then what we have today is the 215T. A splashing has been held most years when the seaplane base is open to visitor by land or sea, and I must try and get my holiday during one, that's wishful thinking. Normally they're held around the start of the summer season, and here's a selection of photos from past events. Cristo. This airfield I've only just found out about when researching for this video. It is located just northwest of the town. It has about a 1,000 metre gravel runway. All I found out about it is the Palma, Sombonnet, Porto Cristo route. On August the 20th, 1933, there were some flights between Porto Cristo and Palma using a Dragon Rapide Echo Charlie Tango Alpha Tango belonging to Jose Cundas Aero Taxi Company. They took tourists from Sombonnet to visit the caves in Monaco. But they also made flights to other points on the island, and one of them was to Flanatics. I will just say I think the site of the airfield back in those days was in a different location. But Aerotaxi SL then covered the journey every Thursday and Sunday at the price of 25 pesetas. But unfortunately it was not successful and the route was closed a few months later. So next time I visit the island I will definitely have another look. And this last photograph are some nice ones of the seaplanes off the coast of Porto Cristo. So that's the end of Airfields of Mallorca Part 1. I hope you enjoyed it. Please look at the description for further details on the photographs and videos and other stuff regarding this video. And please like, subscribe or share or leave a comment. And again, thanks very much and goodbye.